Hey y'all. Oh, I was sitting here looking for my 2020 guide, and it's right here. Oh my god. It was in my face this whole time. Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. Oh my god, it's been so long since I've seen you guys. I missed you so much. Oh my god. This is looking real crazy over here. Oh, thanks guys. Oh, why is this looking so dumb? Hold on, this is a video. Just needs a little more color and a little less green. A little more of that. A little more of that. And let's see how your girl is looking over here. July, let me just tell you. Who do I have over here? Hello, if you're doing tarot today, can I have a reading? No, I'm not doing tarot today. I am doing astrology today. Don't know when I'll be doing tarot today because the next new moon is doing the most and I'm gonna be doing the most. So I'm just so excited to be here with all of you guys. I've been wanting to go live with y'all for several days, but when I tell y'all how life been lifing the life into and out of me, I've had to catch multiple breaths at the same time, and I just need to know if I have an extra set of lungs to catch more breaths. Who is that? Desiree, this is a dress, boo. Do you see? Oh, y'all see that? That's kind of cute. I got a booty. Hey, Chino M. No, it's not growing back. This is the look. This is the look. We're cutting this off. I'm due for a haircut, so don't worry, it's coming off. Yeah. So, Saints, it's time for you to pull out the text for today, which is the 2020 Sidereal Astrology Guide. And I have a few things that I kind of want to talk about in a specific order. This looks kind of ugly and dark over here. I hope I don't look that way in real life on your screens. It just looks like that way on my screen. So I want to start here on this page. This says the calendar, and I just want you all to take a look at, now I know all of you guys don't have the printed versions. You guys have, oh, you guys are so sweet. You're giving me really a lot of compliments, and my love language is words, and so the words just feel like love washing over me. Okay, I just had to receive it for a moment. Oh, Cyrus, is that you, boo? I see you joined in. Okay, I got some new glasses coming, and I just need y'all to know that my right eye is a little bit off. So if y'all see me looking crazy, I'm waiting for my new glasses. Anyways, we're starting on this page, my friends. This page, the calendar. And for each month in 2020, I, being the prescient oracle that I am, thank God for the gifts, for the sight, I came up with these kind of titles, these, hey Somalia, with these names or kind of themes for each month of this year. So let's just back up a little bit and revisit the first half of 2020 and the themes here. So the consequence of conviction, that's what I call January. That is what I called, really, in this guide. If you go to the next page, right, there's just a little few words on the consequence of conviction. I don't want to dive too deeply into that because I could talk about it all day. I want to just move through this really quickly and get to the rest of this here. February, a self-determined worldview. March, this March and April, I'm not gonna lie, these names that I gave March and April were so prescient. I'm just looking back on it like, wow. March I called mastering the constraints of reality, and for us in America, March was when everything went into stay at home and the stores shut down and the schools shut down. And this was really our collective response to our new reality. And our drive to kind of master these new constraints of how are we going to adapt and conform to our shifting reality of living with COVID, of understanding the way that this virus is spreading and the impact that it has on us. And so March was about, okay, wait a minute, we got a whole new reality here and we need to switch some things up immediately. Then we got to April, and I called April resisting regulation. Now, one of the primary themes of that month was kind of this almost fabricated and exaggerated reaction to the constraints that were put on us in March. And so we saw many people resisting regulation. Hey, Araceli, resisting regulation in April, and how people wanted to leave their homes anyway. They wanted to go out. They wanted to go to the gym. They needed their hair dyed, their nails done. They wanted to go for a run. They wanted to do this and this and this and that. But one of the important things to really understand about April and resisting regulation is that this was about the Aries Capricorn square, which we are going to see re-emerge in a major way over the next 6 weeks. And that Capricorn Capricorn Aries square is very simple. If you have this in your chart, you should take notes. If you have planets in Sidereal Aries and Sidereal Capricorn, excluding Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, this square is about Aries. Yes, you absolutely may possess the capability, the will, the strength, the gumption, the audacity to do something. But your individual capabilities and abilities and strengths and will aren't necessarily saying anything about the external material reality in which you find yourself. And so that Aries Capricorn square is like, you are able and you have the will, but with power comes responsibility, and there are consequences for acting in accordance with our own will. And that's what that means. Hey, Iris Berry Well Living. Hey, What a Fresh Erimski. You guys are so wonderful. So then we got to May, and May was eclipse season, summer 2020. Now, you guys know eclipses are forks in the road. They are major turning points. The lights come on, you see clearly, aha, you walk away, you slap a hole, you cut somebody out, you burn the bridge, you build a new one. All of these different things are happening with eclipses. And so we know in May of 2020, eclipse season was the George Floyd insurrection, the George Floyd rebellion. And that particular eclipse season for May 2020 really set the stage for what we are dealing with for the next 2 years through May of 2022. So I want you all to really think about and take some time to think about the past few months. The past few months really gave us the themes and a reference or tether point for what we're going to be dealing with, not only for the next 6 months through the end of 2020, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about what my timeline and time frame looks like as far as what I'm calling 2020, but also long term, because Saturn is going to be in Capricorn until 2023. And these eclipses that we just began in May are going to be in Taurus and Scorpio until 2022. So we have introduced new long-term stories that did not just start now. There are reference points in the past, and I'm going to offer you some timelines for that as we move through the rest of 2020. But also, giving us a framework, a plot, so you will, setting the stage and the setting and the characters and the core conflict for our personal encounters with the astrology really for the next 2 years. So once we got to June 2020, this was called the turning point. And I don't really think that I need to give any background on why June 2020 was the turning point. It is very obvious that there is a life before June 2020 and life after June 2020. The consequence of the George Floyd uprising, the George Floyd rebellion, is that the rage of oppressed peoples have been unleashed. No longer are oppressed peoples policing their anger and rage. No longer are they withholding their righteous expression of their anger, of their fear. No longer are they policing the feelings, the emotions, and reactions of their oppressors. That is what Taurus and Scorpio is about. And I'm going to talk about that more when we get to the end of this year. But if you have Taurus and Scorpio in your birth chart, or you're looking for some astrological language to really understand what just happened in America and all over the world, what just happened is that oppressed peoples, in order to survive, must manage the emotional reactions and responses of their oppressors in order to stay safe. And so all at once, that policing, that managing, this is what Taurus does. They manage the emotions of other people for survival. And so Black people, all at once, the rage, the top just blew open, and no longer has that rage been kind of suppressed and repressed, right? Now, we are at July 2020, with which, again, if you do not have this, you know, I be wanting to make my money, but I'm smart, and this thing is the bomb, okay? Like, I fill this out, okay? You see, I be answering my questions, okay? If you don't have this, I'm basically giving this away right now. Go to my online store, shop.thepeoplesoracle.com through July 11th. You can get 15% off everything in my store, but this particular guide you can get in PDF form, and you can get my Intro to Sidereal Astrology webinar for free. That webinar has 90 minutes or 70 minutes of audio and PDF slides to help introduce you to Sidereal and really start to understand what some of at least the conceptual differences are. But when I tell you the questions that I've written in here for each month, I mean, I'm appalled every single day when I open this at how astrology works. I don't even know. Thank you, Ashley. Ashley Hill said that this guide is as good, literally as good as her very good therapist. I mean, and I'm going to tell you the truth. When I'm on the phone with my clients, we pull this out and we talk about what they have been reflecting on in their questions. And one of the things that I hear most with my clients is, dang, my therapist just asked me that last week, or we were just talking about that, right? In therapy the other day, or I was just journaling about that. Astrology is meant to give you a language to really understand and articulate what is happening in your life. It is really helping you to know where to look and giving you words to articulate and name what is happening. And that's powerful. Because as I talked about in my most recent video for the new moon solar eclipse in Gemini, that language is power. And that when you strip someone of language, when you strip a people of their language, you're stripping them of the ability to rightly perceive what is happening to them and in their world. Okay, so back to this. Download this, please, because I want y'all to be able to talk to me and ask me questions. I want for you all to be able to be your own astrologer. You know, I'm only one person. I can only do so many readings, and I'm booked and booked and booked and booked. And Lord knows I would love to read with all of you all, but I just can't. And so this is a very inexpensive way to get almost as good as a reading with me. So now, July, full circle. Why is this full circle? It is full circle in July of 2020 because this month features the last eclipse in the Gemini Sagittarius sign pair. We just had a full moon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, which was July 5th, 2020. If you watch my previous video, you will notice that I talked about this particular guide, which was my Gemini Sagittarius Eclipse guide, but I pulled this out and I talked about all 4 mutable signs, which are still really in focus for the rest of the year. Quite frankly, we're still going to be dealing with mutable madness. So what is mutable madness? Just to recap, the 4 mutable signs teach you about the 4 primary ways of knowing things. You can know things via words, language, conceptually, which is Gemini. You can learn things, you can know things based on your material, in space, real time, sensual encounter with something, that's Virgo. You can know things based on the context, the cultural, political, economic, religious, spiritual, moral, ethical, that's Sagittarius. And you can know things with your body. Your body is a fine-tuned, by evolution, instrument of knowing, and that is Pisces. So for the next foreseeable future, we are still dealing with all 4 mutable signs. Mars is in Pisces until August 16th. There will be something let's see. Yes, there will be something in Gemini until August 31st, and then the Gemini part of mutable madness. So the words part, the Gemini part, is all about words mean things. I mean, again, it's very obvious. If you look around you, all of the conversations are about what words are being used, what are the political and economic and religious or spiritual or moral, sorry, my ears stopped up, y'all, or moral context, consequence for words. What is the racial consequence, right? Words are all about power. Language is all about power. And we are really having a very, very lively public discourse about what words mean, what words should be used, what is language. I recently happened upon linguist Twitter, and I could not have been more excited. I could not have been more elated to happen upon linguist Twitter right as we're in the middle of a Mercury retrograde in Gemini and eclipses in Gemini and Sagittarius. The Sagittarius part, just today, right? Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Again, we're talking about the political, religious, spiritual, moral context for what is happening. Just today, on the heels of a full moon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, while Jupiter is in Sagittarius, the Supreme Court ruled that religious organizations do not have to respect the civil rights and civil liberties of women, trans persons, Black persons, if the policy does not align with their religious convictions. This is so important. Last year, I wrote a thread on Twitter about Christian theocracy. Look up on Twitter, just search People's Oracle Christian Theocracy. You will find the thread, read it, try to tell y'all. So full circle, I want to give you all some dates. Do you have your pens? Do you have some notebooks? I hope that you are taking notes here. I want you to write down these dates. Don't necessarily think about it now if it does not immediately come into your recall when I bring these dates up, but at least write it down so you have something to reflect on. The moment that is absolutely the most relevant to right now, and really it is waxing and waning in relevance for the rest of this year, is January 2019. Okay? January 2019, that was the last time that Mars transited Pisces before now. Why is Mars transiting Pisces so important? Because Mars is going to retrograde just in a short time from now, and it's going to spend the majority of its retrograde in Pisces. Okay? So particularly the middle end of Pisces, the middle end of January 2019, really all of January 2019. If you have the 2020 Sidereal Astrology Guide and you go to the month of July, these first 2 questions for July are implying something about January 2019. So the questions are asking you specific things about your sidereal and your sidereal Pisces and your sidereal Sagittarius houses. So as with all of these questions, you will have filled out this table of houses in your birth chart. So when you come to this table, you just go back and say, okay, Sagittarius, for me, it's house 4. I'm sorry, it's house 1. And Pisces is house 4. So I go to my houses table and I look up all of the significations. So if the first question for July is, what separations, severances, or emotional boundaries are you experiencing in your Pisces house? So I would go and read what house 4 topics are and be like, damn, am I having any separation, any conflict, any severances, or anything regarding these particular areas of my life? But if you are having issues connecting the dots or thinking about what is happening in that particular part of your chart, think back to January 2019. What was the main themes of what was going on for you? Now, there was another story in January 2019. So that's why I want you to start with your Pisces and Sagittarius house topics to begin with. Okay? So January 2019, though, was such a tether point for this time because Mars was transiting Pisces. That was, again, the last time Mars transited Pisces until now when we're getting ready to embark upon this retrograde. Saturn was in Sagittarius then, so we got this nice square between Mars and Saturn, between Pisces and Sagittarius. Now that same square between signs is being triggered, but this time by Mars and Jupiter. Okay? So these two signs are so important to July and to this full circle. And we are going to be completing and kind of I don't even want to say completing, making major headway in resolving conflicts between those two areas of our lives for the next few months, because we have 2 squares between Mars and Jupiter in those particular houses. So what are we dealing with for the rest of July here? So Mercury is going to station direct on July 11th. You're welcome, guys. This is an absolutely, again, one of the, if you're not familiar with my work, it can be a very shocking kind of experience listening to me talk about astrology, because I just don't talk about signs the way you hear other people talk about them. Astrology for me is a language of time. And so for me, in order for you to use astrology, it is unnecessary for you to understand the technical significations, meanings, and interpretations of the signs, planets, aspects, and all of that stuff. It's important for you to keep time. So my job is to translate back for you. I don't know why it's breaking up. I haven't done anything different, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm on my iPad. You might want to go to the YouTube stream if the sound is messing up. Anyways, my goal for you is to understand that if you can just make the time correlations, that you don't need the specifics of the signs. And the signs and the specifics. A long time, Pooby. No, you didn't sleep for a day. You okay? Get a towel and wash your face good, okay? All right. So when I'm giving you these dates, I don't want you to think about the specifics of the astrology unless you have a good grasp on it, unless you have the 2020 Sidereal astrology guide and you understand it. I want you to just think about, okay, what was really going on for me at that time? What were my major where was my energy and ambition focused? What new stories were arising at that time that would take your attention for the next few months? Okay. That was cute. He did say, did I sleep for a day? He's so cute. I love my son, y'all. I just love being a mommy. It's the best thing ever, even though he gets on my nerves. All right. Let me catch my breath and drink some water because I want to give you some more dates. I got more dates for you. Thank you, showing out. Yellow is my color. That's like my wardrobe right now. All shades of yellow and ochre. Look at this. And I did a little cutting off of one of my plants. And I've been trying to find a way to use this little thing that I got for $3 from the Goodwill. And so look at my little pothos. Look at him. He's so cute. And he's got this little bitty leaf there. You see it, guys? He's so cute. Okay. Hey, Nola Dumpling, you made it to a live. You did, boo. Welcome. Okay, so Mercury is stationing direct on July 11th. Why is this a Mercury direct station so important? This Mercury direct station is so important because it is triggering the degree by opposition of an eclipse we had December 26, 2020. So I want you to think about the time frame between December 26, 2020. I'm sorry, I lied, y'all. December 26, 2019. Okay? I want you guys to think about what transpired in your life, what kind of emerging stories and transitions were happening between December 26, 2019 and let's say the end of March 2020. Oh my goodness. Jamer McCorn. I think that's how you say it. I hope you're healing and finding your new legs. Seriously. Yeah. So, yeah, this Mercury retrograde, this Mercury direct station is triggering the eclipse from December 26, 2019. And that's really important. What else do we have here? Matter of fact, the eclipse that we just had on July 5th triggered the eclipse from January 2019. For some reason, that month is just so important to this time. And I'm seeing everyone sharing the things that they were dealing with in January 2019 and how relevant and kind of significant those times were. They're sharing what's happened on December 26, 2019 as well. Okay, so we're going to have like, let me catch my breath. I'm so excited and I have so much I'm trying to say and my brain just keeps saying all the words. I just need to take a couple more breaths. Okay. Now, short-term timeline between now and mid-August. There are going to be, hey Tim, that's my boo. There are going to be kind of three kind of stories converging, three narratives converging. And when we get to August 2016, August 16, 2020, I want you to go in your 2020 guide. I want you to go in your phone's calendar, whatever calendar you have up on the wall, and I want you to circle August 16, 2020. Okay? So, you're welcome, Mermaid Unicorn. OG Mermacorn. I get it. I get it now. Okay. Wow, look at you. Liberating yourself. I appreciate you all so much for sharing your stories with me. I think it's so important for us to understand that there really is this kind of collective experience of time that we have, that the regular calendar and clock just don't articulate for us. And astrology really is this consensual language that helps us to understand that we're all under the same sky on the same clock. you know, and that our experiences are, you know, yeah. Yes, Krista, August 16, 2020, that day is lit. And yes, Kenna Amethyst, let me just tell you, 2020, I've had some hard times, but 2019, I don't know how I made it. 2019 was 50 years. It was a lot of things, and I'm glad it's over. And then we got to 2020, and it was like, because we really thought like, wow, 2019 was so hard, but I survived it. I barely made it, and 2020 is gonna be my year. And then we got to 2020, and 2020 was like, and we were like, wait, am I in a bad place? Yes. This is the bad place. We're in the bad place. All right. Okay. So, two things I want to say. I just have to talk this out. Otherwise, I'm going to lose it. So I want to talk about the three kind of narratives that we are moving through between now and August 16th. And then I want to kind of connect some of the broader themes of the year. So, yes. Let me see how you looking, Pooh. You use your new toothbrush? Mm-hmm. Say cheese. Cheese. Oh, wow. Much better. Take off that dirty shirt. Did you wash your face? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So we have the Mutable story, redefining truth, words mean things. We have a Cardinal story, which is let me go back. Mutable story, redefining truth, words mean things, critical mass. Okay. Then we have, thanks guys. Then we have the Cardinal story, right? The Cardinal story is COVID and the economy. That's Capricorn encountering the constraints of reality. And then we have the Fixed story. Girl, my own baby be giving me baby fever, okay? But then we have the Fixed sign story. And the Fixed sign story is... hold on. The Fixed sign story is race, gender, class, sexuality. Race, I know we've been talking about race, but we also must talk about gender, and we must talk about sexuality. We must talk about sexual identity. We must talk about gender identity. We must talk about bodily autonomy. We must talk about gender violence. We must talk about trans violence, violence against trans persons. We must talk about the Black maternal mortality rate. We must talk about reproductive rights. That is the Fixed sign story. That is the Fixed sign story. Okay? And the fixed sign story is what we really began in June. So I'm going to come back to that. Okay? But those are our three stories. Critical mass and the mutable madness is our collective conversion experience. We are all having encounters that radicalize and transform our politics and our spiritualities and our moralities. This is a story that began in earnest January of 2017, but we can go back to 2007, 2008 as well. But this is the awakening of our political consciousness, which has to do with the right use of power. And that is this story that has really reaching a fever pitch in July. And one of the notable transits that it's marking is Jupiter in Sagittarius, which will be there until November 20th, 2020. Okay? That story remains as the foundation, as kind of the cornerstone, the context, really, for everything else that we're experiencing until Jupiter changes signs. The Cardinal story. This is a big one. 2008, mortgage crisis. Great Recession, Jupiter in Capricorn, eclipses in Cancer in Capricorn. 2016, November, Mars transits Capricorn. January, February 2017, 45 is inaugurated. Beginning eclipses in Cancer in Capricorn. May 2018 through November 2018, Mars retrograde in Capricorn while there are still eclipses in Cancer in Capricorn. The trade war with China begins. Immigrants being imprisoned in camps in America by 45's administration. This is Cancer in Capricorn. Cancer and Capricorn is about economy, not the economy, but economy. The use of resources, the resourcefulness of a people. It is about our homes, our food, our land, oil, energy, all of those things, right? Then we get to January 24th, 2020. There is life before January 24th, 2020, and there is life after January 24th, 2020. That weekend, Wuhan shut down and set a precedent for countries all over the world to completely shut down their economies in order to stop folks from dying from a virus. That is the Capricorn story. That is the Cancer Capricorn story. And that is what's next on the horizon for us. There is a new moon in Cancer on July 20th that is exactly opposed Saturn. If you look at your guide, you can see in this little circle, in this box, there is a Sun-Saturn opposition and a new moon. All of these, and FYI, all of these glyphs that are in the actual calendar part, here is where they tell you, calendar glyph key, what they all mean. Okay? Right, Kobe passed. Okay? So I really want you guys to think on this timeline. Life before January 24th, 2020 and life afterwards. And that was a new moon in Capricorn. That was Saturn entered Capricorn all at once. Okay? Then when we got to the end of March 2020, Mars entered Capricorn and Jupiter entered Capricorn. So by the time we got to March 2020, almost every country had been touched by COVID, and almost every country was having some sort of Saturn experience of isolation, of shutting things down, cutting off contact, shutting down the economy and freedom of movement. Because why? Why did that happen in March? Because we were trying to master the constraints of reality. This is our new reality, okay? So when we get to our new moon in Cancer, we are coming to the 6-month midpoint from January 2020. And now there is a reckoning. How are we dealing? How are we managing with these new constraints of reality? How are our bodies, our families, our homes, our most immediate familiar relationships changing in response to our new reality? How are we coming to terms with the fact that there is a limited amount of time, energy, food, money, life, medicine, drugs, gas, oil, land, air, water, oxygen? How are we coming to terms with that? What book is this? Oh, you must be new here, boo. That is the 2020 Sidereal Astrology Guide by the People's Oracle, and it is in my store. Go to thepeoplesoracle.com, click shop. Use the code MercuryRX through July 11th to get 15% off everything, okay? Thank you, Osiris. That's my boo, y'all. Y'all don't know, me and Osiris go way, way back. Me and Osiris, we've been with each other every step of the way. Yeah, man. Anyways, 5th August. So once we get to the second half of July, now the mutable story is still there. So I want you to think of the mutable story as like coming out of one side of the speaker. But once we get to January 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, the volume gets turned up and the mix changes a little bit. So we still have critical mass, this political reckoning and awakening. We're still having this moral, religious, political moment of collective conversion and individual radicalization from this political moment that's been ongoing since January 2017. But once we get to the middle end of July, the volume gets turned back up on the Cardinal story, which was the loudest at the end of March through April and May. And the Cardinal story connects us back most recently to the spring and summer of 2018. Okay? Please remember these dates. Don't think about the signs. I really need you all to just throw away what you think you know about the signs and really think really about the time period in your life and what was happening and what was going on. Okay? So the end of July is this kind of warring factions of those who have this political agenda, who are being radicalized in both directions, who are having their awakening, who are, how am I making my life a living testimony of my intentions and convictions? That is what this mutable moment is about. That's what Sagittarius is about, where Jupiter is. It is about fire. Fire leaves nothing the way that it is. It creates a chemical permanent change with everything that it encounters. You are fire. Your convictions, your political consciousness, and your spiritual awakening is fire. How is that interchange, that fire that's being stoked inside of you, changing your life and the world around you? What convictions are you compelled to enforce on the people? People and world around you, okay? But we still have to deal with reality. And the reality is that there is a virus we still do not know enough about that is permanently disabling people and killing others, stripping the livelihood and home of some, right? And it's important that this is why the theme that I put for 2020 is the consequence of conviction. Your beliefs are not just an idea. Your beliefs impact your reality. And it is important. See, what just happened was Jupiter hopped into Capricorn for a few months. And so the context for how we were interpreting everything was Capricorn. It was Saturn. It was death. It was the limitations of our new reality. But now that Jupiter is back in Sagittarius since June 29th, now we are talking about what is our political and moral, right? And these things transcend reality because it's an internal locus of control rather than a material encounter with what is external to you. Okay? And so now we have this moment to integrate into our belief systems, both political, moral, and spiritual, the encounter with reality that we had at the beginning part of this year, both collectively and individually. So the consequence of conviction means, oh, so you think that you can do just what you want to do because you're white? No one can tell you what to do. You are the rightful owner and power figure of this place. COVID has a few words for you. And that is what's happening now in the southern states because they really thought that their whiteness was going to protect them and save them. They did. That's just the way that it is. There's a certain class of people who think that no one can tell them what to do. They've drank the American exceptionalism Kool-Aid. And so they think that somehow they're bigger, badder, and better. And even if they were to get it, so what? You can't get your life saved if there ain't no beds in the ICU and ain't no ventilators because Capricorn says that there is only a few of some things. And guess what? Too late. Should have got it first. I don't know. All right. So these are the two competing stories. We get to the end of July, and now Mercury is opposed Jupiter, and this is loud. That is somebody like this takes the volume and turns it way up on this story of words mean things and critical mass and language, and you can't say that, right? Watch your mouth, okay? Venus enters Gemini July 31st. So again, we have this story that is just going on and on and on, back and forth between Sagittarius, Gemini, and Cancer, Capricorn. Then we get to August, and the same thing is happening. We get a full moon in Capricorn, which is the 6-month point from the new moon in Capricorn in January 24th, 2020. And so this is where we really get to find out how we're dealing with reality. Okay? Mars square Jupiter for the first time, August 4th. Again, that is the Mutable Madness story. Now, what is happening on July 16th and why it was a big deal? Why is it a big deal? Okay? These two dates, I want you to remember, I want you to score them on the calendar timeline in your mind. January 24th, 2020 and August 16th, 2020. These are these doors, these portals almost that give us such a radical shift in our experiences. The January 24th one is much more far-reaching and long-term, but the August 16th one gives us a window and an opportunity to really show what we've learned. On that day, both the Sun and Mercury enter Leo, and Mars enters Aries, and immediately there is a trine between Mars and Aries and Sun and Mercury in Leo. Now, things get really special then, because during August, the Sun will be in Leo, Mars will be in Aries, Jupiter will be in Saturn and in Sagittarius. Saturn will be in Capricorn. All four of those planets in their own signs. Unprecedented. We'll get to the beginning of September. Those four planets are still there. And now Mercury is in Virgo. So then 5 planets all at home, right? There is so much happening August until September. I just really want you all to understand that I know that we've been through a lot. You all have been through a lot. That things are really overwhelming. And it's so important that we turn off the screens and just dip out for a minute and escape. We absolutely must escape. There is no glory or joy in unnecessary suffering. Honestly, my theme for 2020 has been no unnecessary suffering. If it hurts, I'm gonna let you know, or I'm gonna take an ibuprofen. If I'm tired, I'm going to bed. If I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. If it makes me feel good, I'm going to do it again. Now, this is from me, someone who has a lot of Saturn and someone who is very a hard taskmaster. I mean, it's the only way that I can accomplish something like, this and get it done. But with that being said, August and September, whew, you thought March and April was something. August and September are going to be something. So we get this moment where all 3 fire signs are occupied. And in the 2020 guide, I call August intention, power, and authority. Intention is Sagittarius and Jupiter. Power is Mars in Aries. And authority is Sun in Leo. And I'm just going to do you all a favor and read in here what I wrote for August. Jupiter in Sagittarius, Mars in Aries, and Sun in Leo align, reinforcing the intention, power, and authority of the will, respectively. For those 3 planets to all be in the signs they own at the same time is unprecedented. There is no past reference point in modern memory to serve as a precedent for the circumstances the astrology of that moment brings. Fire is the will, the force of life that impels action, alights the intellect, and fuels intention. All dimensions of the will working in concert intensifies its influence and fortifies its direction for good or ill. Now, when I look at people's charts and I see fire doing things, these are people who get it in their blood to do something, and they find the energy and move heaven and earth to make it happen. There's also an element of privilege or favor that comes with fire placements well placed, that doors open for you, people respond to it. Now, this doesn't mean that you can have actions without consequences or that it's with impunity, but there is this element of ambition and being in the right place at the right time with the right skin color, speaking the right language, having the right social status and class. You understand what I'm saying? That affords you the opportunities to do things. So, Trump is a really great example of this in that he has Leo rising with Mars conjunct the ascendant, that he can have the audacity to do something like run for president, be unqualified, inept, and incompetent, but because he has the privilege of whiteness and maleness and class, he can do whatever he wants, right? So it's important that we understand this not as some kind of special discipline, some kind of special hard work. Sorry, I'm back, y'all. I don't know why it went off. I guess it just timed out, but I'm still here if the screen went black on YouTube. Anyway, it's important to understand that when you have fire in your birth chart or you see fire in the sky like this, that there is a way that your privilege, class, race, gender, and sexuality aligns with what is in what is reinforced by system of power, right? So there is really an important thing to understand that force only works for people who can do things with impunity. Whether that is because of their class, their race, or their gender, or their sexuality. You understand what I'm saying? So these are themes that we'll continue to deal with over the rest of the year. But when we get to this moment in August, there are going to be some people for whom the door opens, the roadway is completely free of traffic, and you can go however fast you want to. But do you have a direction to go? So let me read the rest of this because this is really important. When fire is dominant and air is weak, self-righteousness and entitlement leave no room for perspective and no thought of the various outcomes and their consequences. It's easy to get tangled up in a vicious feedback loop with no distance to provide perspective. Perceptions are easily reinforced by one's judgment, but whose perceptions and what judgment? Action is fueled by entitlement to impact, but what's the motivation? I did a thread on Twitter last night, and the thread started off like this. The most important question of this moment is, whose judgment do you trust? If you cannot have some kind of metacognition, some sense of self-interrogation around whose judgment or what is the context that informs how you perceive and interpret things, you can be in big trouble. Oh yeah, it is hot. It might go off again, but, and you know what? I closed this too, so let's open up the air conditioning vent. If it goes off, I'm sorry again on YouTube. Just come over to Instagram. Okay, so I was talking about how important it is for you to interrogate your perceptions and for you to interrogate your belief systems and really understand that identity is a belief system. Identity is a story, and it's a story just like Bible stories. You use these myths in order to help you understand and interpret what's happening to you. And so you measure your experiences and your reality against this story, against this belief system, against this identity. And when something challenges that identity, that belief system, you have two choices. Do you violently reject it? Do you get angry? Do you black it out? Do you hold yourself in a cognitive dissonance? Or do you interrogate your identity and your belief system? And do you use that opportunity to transform your belief system into something that reflects the truth a little bit more? And that's the moment that we're in when we're getting from August until September. Now, the other big thing that is happening in August, I wonder if I move this. Don't judge me, y'all, being all up in my face like this. Okay, I'm gonna just put this over the air conditioning and maybe the cool. Don't look at my dirty wall, y'all. I'm just trying to put it over the air conditioning and see if this will cool my camera off a little bit, because that's really the issue. So hold on, y'all. Okay. Okay, hopefully that helped a little bit. Yeah, it did cool off a little bit. Okay, I'm back, y'all. So anyways, so the other big thing that is happening, and when we turn to September, you're going to see a theme here: resisting reality. So we had mastering the constraints of reality for March, resisting regulation for April. So resisting regulation was stay in your house, you know, wear a mask, wash your hands. And they were like, no, I need to get my grays dyed, right? And then we got to September here, and now we're at resisting reality. All right, YouTube, y'all hold on for a minute. Instagram, this video is about to end, so I am going to preemptively end it. It'll be available on IGTV, and then I'm going to start another stream, okay? So please come back so I can finish the rest of this for y'all. Yeah, I'll be right back, Instagram. Hold on, YouTube. Hold on, YouTube. I am sending this. Okay. Okay. Oops. Okay. All right. Okay, now I am back on Instagram. Do it for the gram. Do it for the gram. Yes. I am. What is this thing I'm talking about? Since I'm back. Okay, so I left off talking about September as resisting reality. Okay. September is resisting reality, and somebody said it feels like a regression. So basically, I spent a little bit of time earlier in this video talking about the Aries Capricorn square, which is what we were really focused on April and May of 2020. And so that was just a prelude, my friends, setting the stage. And we come back now for a very long, intense square between Mars and Aries and Saturn in Capricorn. Mars, let's see what the guide says. Now, I wrote about it in here, but we can use these tables to really figure it out. What does Aries do by way of Mars? Aries by way of Mars, there we go, enforces will, acts according to individual strength and capability, expresses will through physical action, freedom to move and exercise strength. That is Aries. And then what is Capricorn? Capricorn says, if I can get it to focus here, functions within real or perceived constraints, determines limits to create order, master tools, and establish methods. So those are the two signs that are like really, really, really in focus August and September, beyond the fire trine that we have. So we have enforcing the will and imposing order. Now, who is going to win this square? Let me break down some astrology for you real quick. Squares are power struggles. Somebody has the upper hand. Somebody has the authority in the square. In a square between Capricorn and Aries, Capricorn has the upper hand. That means reality always wins out over your individual will. I don't care if you think that you can do whatever you want, but Saturn says no. Saturn don't say nothing, actually. Saturn is just the brick wall sitting there at the end of the road that you think you're going to run right through. Instead, you just smack your face right up against it. Okay? So, this square, Aries enforcing the will, Capricorn imposing order. Somebody has to surrender, and it's going to be Aries. And so the conversation goes a little bit something like this. Capricorn is COVID. Capricorn is the threat of death, illness, and disability. Capricorn is money. Capricorn is clean air. Capricorn is having a home to live in. Aries is, I can do what I want when I want because you ain't the boss of me. I will. Who gonna check me? Boo. And Saturn is just like, I mean, I didn't even say nothing. You're the one over here yelling and screaming all loud about how you could do whatever you want whenever you want. And so this is what you're going to do. And so I'm just going to chill. I being Saturn. Saturn's like, I'm just going to chill. And I really don't have to convince you of anything, because the consequence of Saturn is, you know what reality is based on your encounter with it. Meaning that I can use my words and pay lip service and talk to you all about the threat and the reality and death and COVID and this and this and this and this and that. But the fact of the matter is, you're going to know exactly what reality is when you encounter that reality. And so for Mars and Aries, the reality is that some people just have to bang their head up against that brick wall in order for them to realize what it really is. You can give them statistics, you can give them data, and that's something really important to understand for this square, because if I can pull this up in my 2020 guide, in my iCal here, one of the things that's happening is that while this square between Saturn and Capricorn and Mars is Aries is going, for all of September, basically, eventually first Mercury and then Sun are going to enter Virgo. And so now, not only does Saturn have the upper hand, but Virgo is going to trine Saturn, and trines mean reinforcement. Saturn is literally the brick wall, and Virgo comes along and says, this brick wall has a hardness on the such and such scale of hardness. It is 3 feet tall, 12 feet wide. It was built in such and such time. It's giving you all of the data on the wall. And so Capricorn is like, thank you, Virgo, for articulating this reality so well. Meanwhile, Aries is like, I can do what I want. I can do what I want. And it's just like, okay, Virgo just told you that this wall was hard as hell, and if you wanted to bump your head up against it, you're going to have a cracked skull. And so Mars has a decision to make. Do you want to crack your skull and die, or do you want to try to figure out how to strategize and create tactics to master reality rather than try to force it away? You can't force away reality. So that means matter of fact, for September, that's why y'all need this guide, I'm telling you. For September, the questions, they're all red. Why are all of the questions red for September, children? Saints, mamas, daddies, Cousins, aunts, uncles, and gammies. All of the questions are red because they are about Mars. They are about Mars. They are about Aries. And so what is Mars? Let's go back and see what it is. Mars. Now, this is from the planets in transits table in the guide. Mars, action. That's the word. Mars brings activity, action, and energy for movement and accomplishment to the house it transits. I'm going to read that again for you. Mars brings activity, action, and energy for movement and accomplishment to the house it transits. It shows where your physical energy is directed, even when your conversation Mercury, your mental focus Sun, or your relationships Venus draw your attention elsewhere. Now I got to read about Saturn because that's the other piece of this, okay? Saturn is real simple. It's reality. Saturn defines reality. The house it transits says who or what determines the limits of your time, energy, body, and other resources at any given time. Every planet must deal with Saturn as it is either conspiring with, undermined by, or in contention with reality. My friends, Mars is in contention with reality. But Mars can win. Saturn is simply saying, not now, not this way, a little bit slower, hold tight. And what actually ends up happening with this square with Saturn and Mars is that we start off actually having one particular ambition informed by what we think our own individual capabilities are. And Saturn helps us to refine our ambitions. It actually helps us to decide what it is that we really should be doing. It actually says, these are the tools that you have on hand. How can you reconcile your individual abilities and will with the tools you actually have on hand? I know you would like to build a wall, but you don't have any materials to build a wall. You have materials to plant trees. And so maybe you can actually build a wall, but you have to plant the trees first. So are you going to plant the trees, or are you going to sit there and have a temper tantrum about how you don't have the materials to build a wall? So really apply this to your life. These questions in September are talking about how do you define ambition? Describe your present relationship with ambition and its function in your life, right? This is important, because we all have this idea of what we wanted to do. And maybe you can think back to April, and you can think back to April and May and the sun's transit through Aries, and how you might have realized a new vision of what it is that you want to accomplish and do in the midst of this reality. And so you've been saying to yourself, man, when COVID is gone, when this thing is all gone, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. So maybe this Saturn-Mars square is really telling you that, one, you don't have to wait until COVID is gone. This is our new reality, and deal with it. And so if you don't wait, really take an assessment of the tools that you have available to you right now. And maybe it means you do something different. Maybe it means you do it a different way. Maybe it means a whole new opportunity opens up for you. But the issue here is, are you going to throw a tantrum, or are you going to boss up? And are you going to assess the tools and be like, I'm ready to build? What is it that I'm going to build? What do I have with me that I can build with? That is really what this is about. Now, some people are going to be mad. Some people are going to be really angry. They're going to be throwing tantrums. They're going to be standing in the street yelling. They're going to say, you must, and we have to, and you're going to, and we got to. And it's just like, yeah, okay, you got to do what you're doing, but you can't tell me what to do, because I'm over here. I'm looking at Saturn. Saturn says it's 12 o'clock and it's lunchtime. So you know what I'm going to do? Clock out. Time to eat. Now, then we get to October, and that word reality is there again, my friends. Oh no, I lied. September is resisting reality, okay? Now October is eroding resistance. Why is October eroding resistance? Because now we have another cardinal sign. This time it's Libra, and what is it? Mercury retrograde. Now, if you've been paying attention, some of you all are very astute students, and you have been paying attention, you know that I have called these Mercury retrogrades language acquisition. And if you've been paying attention, you know that that was quite prescient, because we have been talking about acquiring the language to articulate our liberation. We have been talking about acquiring the language to name our oppressors and the oppression that we have been experiencing as a means to liberation. So when we get to October and we're talking about eroding resistance, we're talking about eroding that resistance to reality. And how do we do that? We come up with a new consensus. We develop new language. Reality is material, but it's also conceptual and consensual. And Libra talks about the consensual aspects of reality. Capricorn is my eyes closed. I don't have no words or imagination. All I know is what I feel with my hands and what I sense with my senses in my body. But Libra is, look at that dog over there. And everybody's like, oh my God, I see a dog. And then here comes me over here, Aries, because either I'm trying to free myself or whatever it is, for good or ill. I'm like, yo, y'all, that's not a dog. It's actually a horse. But the consensus is that that is a dog. And so here comes Aries looking real stupid, because Aries is right. It's actually a horse, but everyone else has decided it's a dog. Can you see how we're already having these conversations? That's not police brutality. Don't defund the police, just abolish them. Don't abolish the police, just reform the police, right? All of these conversations about language. So the catchy thing about October, which is eroding resistance, and then November, which is consensual reality, is that this is election time. So we actually have Mercury stationing direct on the day of the presidential election in the United States, which is Tuesday, November 3rd. Okay? So the real deal here is, once we get into October, we can breathe just a little bit. But see, the conversation really switches very drastically, because September and August is, what are we going to do about schools? What about the NFL and sports? What about colleges and universities, right? That the moment requires us to be innovative, resourceful, and really taking assessment of the skills and tools that we have available to us, not what we just think we are capable of or what we're actually capable of. And that's where things really change, because things get really urgent. What are we going to do about the election? What are the kids going to do about school? What are the colleges and universities going to do about dormitories and living on and off campus? We're already seeing some conversation and some solutions to these things, but it's going to ramp up very, very, very intensely in October. Now, I want to stop, because I'm not going to talk about December. I have to come back and talk about that, because once we get to this late November and December, now we're in the other eclipse season of this year, and we're back to talking about the George Floyd rebellion and all of this stuff about race and gender and class and sexuality. I think that by the time we get to the eclipse in December, I'm really interested in the reproductive rights, Black maternity death rate, trans rights, gender violence, and reproductive rights. That's what I'm really interested in as we get to December, late November and December of 2020. So I want to take about 15 minutes to answer questions. If you are on Instagram, please put your questions in the question box. If you are on YouTube, please remember to like this video, comment, and subscribe. If you want other people to know about this, if you think that this is valuable, you got to tell the algorithm, and you do that by pressing like and sharing on social media and commenting, so that other people will see this video show up in their feeds and as suggested content. Share it on YouTube, share it on Instagram, share it on whatever the things is that you share. Take some clips, share my face, just make sure you tag my name. I don't mind if you take the video and put it on other platforms. Just please make sure that you attribute it to me, because I know I can't control where it goes after this. Okay. So let's see here. Is to come advice. I don't really know. I can't say that I can actually help you with that. Is there hope for the election? Everybody's asking me about the election. Y'all. Okay, I'm gonna put it to you this way. The astrology of 2020 is very different than the astrology of 2016. The astrology of 2016 definitely favored Trump. The astrology of 2020 definitely does not favor Trump. Not at all. The element that he needed to support his Chinese astrology chart in 2016 was fire, and it was protruding in the year of 2016, which was the Yang fire monkey. In 2020, however, it is all water, baby. And his chart does not like to see water. Water is going to indicate issues with money and wealth and women. Water is going to weaken power for him, which obviously just happened. I cannot read your chart on here, so don't ask me anything about your personal chart unless there is a specific placement that you think other people can generally benefit from. So honestly, I don't see Biden being president. I did a forecast using Chinese astrology, and I definitely didn't see Bernie Sanders being president. The Chinese astrology was not beneficial to his chart. I think they have a similar chart structure where the astrology is not beneficial to Biden either. My fear for Biden is actually that he gets sick if he is not already. So it just remains to be seen, really. I'm going to take a look at their charts again in a little bit, and maybe I'll do a thread on Twitter. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, because that's where I really just give up to date in the moment. The reason why Instagram is not a very good platform for me is because astrology is very time sensitive, and Twitter just works really well for me being able to talk about the astrological relevance of things in real time. And Instagram is better for evergreen content, unfortunately. Somebody asked, does Kanye have a chance of being president? Is it even likely? I have not looked at Kanye's chart. I believe that his chart likes fire as well. So that means no. How you gonna enter the election in? I don't know. I can't. I don't know. I can't even think about that. I definitely will take a look at his chart though. How is school starting looking in August? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. The rich people are not going to send their children back to school. People who are rich, they already got their tutors. They already have nannies. They're working from home. They're keeping their kids home. They have internet and all kind of resources. Poor people are going to be in a bind because they need to go back to work, but there's no child care for them to send their children back to school. Teachers are going to strike because they're going to refuse to go back to school without proper PPE, without proper protocol, without smaller classrooms, without proper protective gear. No one can stand in front of a classroom of children with a